Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel called Zuzanareacts, where I learn all things para with your help, and I just share my Slovak Central European point of view. And in today's video I'm super excited because we're going to look into extraterrestrial links with India. Now I know some of you were talking and laughing at any kind of aliens theory, etc., but I'm super curious what this kind of video is about. I haven't previewed that. But when I was like 14, long time ago, I was reading like books like, Eric Ford Dyneken, who was talking a lot about aliens, etc. So that was, originally sparked my curiosity also in these topics. But then, I think I mentioned to some of you in the comments about Gigi Young, the work of Gigi Young. She's a YouTuber. She teaches spirituality. It's quite different to whatever you guys know. But she kind of has different points of view on aliens, and I think might be more aligned with what you would like to believe based on the comments. But before we get into the video,
please like this video and click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification. Thank you so much for your support.
Okay, let's roll the clip.
Sirsi, India. 10 miles outside of the city, in the southwestern state of Karnataka, within the river Chalmala, is one of the country's most popular pilgrimage sites, Sahasralinga. Hidden under these waters for most of the year lie stone sculptures known as Shiva Lingams. These sacred idols are representations of the god Shiva and are visible to thousands of pilgrims once a year at the festival of Mahashivaratri.
Mahashivaratri is a festival where Shiva is worshipped for his great nature. Mahashivaratri is usually held in the end of February or beginning of March. During that month, the water level of the Salmala River drops down so that all the Shivalingas are exposed.
Oh, wow.
Shiva is depicted as the Shivalinga, as kind of a spherical column, the flaming pillar that is the cosmic axis of the universe. Every Shivalinga that's in worship is set into a yoni. This is a special base, and it actually serves kind of a utility of function. It's a spout so that when you pour offerings over the surface of the linga, they wash over the sacred body. Images of the Shivalinga are found throughout Southeast Asia, even in parts of East Asia. Sometimes images of Shiva as a lingam also made its way into China and into Japan.
The Shiva Lingam first appeared over 2,000 years ago, and there is still debate over what this shape was originally meant to symbolize. But ancient astronaut theorists suggest that the icon may represent an incredibly powerful technological device. Paris, France, 1900. At the Paris Congress of History of Religions, Swami Vivekananda, a scientist and monk credited with popularizing Hinduism in the West, gives a lecture addressing the meaning of the Shiva Lingam.
Wow, I'll stop it right there. Like, you guys told me about his books many times. I'm very curious what he will have to say now.
For centuries, Western scholars have assumed that the Shiva Linga has purely a sexual connotation. The cylinder is the male phallic symbol and the yoni is the complementary female symbol. Then in 1900, the Hindu scholar Swami Vivekananda came to Paris to deliver a major lecture about Hinduism and symbolism. During this lecture, he said that the Shiva Linga actually symbolizes the coming in or going out of the divine manifesting energy of Shiva.
Wow.
It stands for energy, and it has often been misrepresented in the West that it is simply a phallic symbol of Shiva, which is not the case. It is obviously a pillar, because linga means a pillar.
Modern Hindu scholars have theorized that the Shiva Linga stone actually represents atomic energy. When we think about this idea of what atomic energy can do, how it can be used for good, but it can be extraordinarily destructive, this certainly pertains to the mythology of Shiva, who is chaotic energy, who is a force for incredible good, but also a force for incredible destruction.
Is it possible that this symbol of Shiva's power actually represents atomic energy? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest the proof can be found by examining this mysterious shape.
The cylindrical structure of the Shiva Linga is similar or almost identical to a modern-day nuclear reactor. And the groove that surrounds the base represents the structure's built to dispose of the polluted water. In ancient times and even today, Hindus pour water or milk on top of Shiva Linga as a ritual. Today, we pour water over the top of nuclear reactor to cool it. And interestingly, most Shiva temples are always found near water bodies, like rivers or lakes, just like nuclear power plants. So is it possible that Shiva Linga actually represents an ancient nuclear power plant?
In the story of Shiva and the Shiva Linga, we're obviously dealing with some kind of a universal or cosmic power that we didn't fully understand until the 20th century with the discovery of nuclear power and nuclear fission. These discoveries that predate modern man are completely changing our conception of the ancient past and connecting us to the true history of humanity, all before the time of the flood.
1971. Eastern India. It was here, at the Sanskrit College in Calcutta, that Eric von Daniken met with Professor Dilip Kanjilal to study the Vedic Sanskrit, an ancient language.
Oh my god, you can't even make this S out. Like, I just talk about Eric von Daniken. How funny. This is, you can't make these things up. Okay, let's continue.
Language used in religious Hindu texts.
Professor Dilip Kanjilal has gone through old Indian texts and made modern versions of it. Now it comes out in the old books, the so-called gods. They used flying machines to travel from heaven to earth.
According to the ancient Vedic texts of India, the gods descended from the sky in flying vehicles. They refer to those vehicles as vimanas. There are very detailed descriptions what these vimanas looked like, how they traveled from place to place, what was necessary in order to pilot them. All those things are described in ancient Hindu texts that are thousands of years old.
And for Eric, he naturally felt that these vimanas were real nuts and bolts, aircraft. And of course, he's saying these are the vehicles of the ancient astronauts.
When Eric first went to India, he explored a whole bunch of different sites, and he quickly came to the realization that India is a treasure trove for the ancient astronaut theory, because all over India, we can find these magnificent temple towers that are referred to as stupas and also vimanas. And so we have to ask ourselves, where did the form for a stupa come from?
Another great contribution of Eric is that he focused on India. Very few people had really studied the ancient Indian civilization, even though it is thousands of years old. And what he saw there were structures which were alleged to have been replicas of Vimanas.
So many Hindu temples in the Far East, they are representations in their architecture, what was going up in the sky. So the upper part of a Hindu temple often is seen as a flying object, as a Vimana.
And basically, what we're being confronted with is the realization that these people built in stone objects which they seem to have seen in the sky.
When we look at the most ancient records we have coming out of the Vedic texts in India, there are clear descriptions of aerial battles taking place, vimanas. So this really starts to raise the question about our own cycle of history. Is it completely linear, or is it possible that we're just starting to rediscover ancient technology that did exist thousands of years ago?
Ancient texts all over the world talk about flying vehicles, people who could fly through the air, flying horses. But it was Eric who really put it together that the gods weren't just flying around like Superman. They had to get into some kind of nuts and bolts craft, just like we do, and go somewhere. And this was the chariots of the gods.
Enoch tells us about the guardians of the sky who came down. He says they are called fallen angels, and they wanted to have sex with humans. And the offspring of it were giants. So there were sexual contacts between extraterrestrials and the humans.
What does this mean? Well, it's very simple. Eric von Daniken's interpretation was, we are nothing else but hybrids of an extraterrestrial race that jump-started our civilization thousands and thousands of years ago.
Varanasi, India, 500 miles southeast of Delhi. Located on the banks of the Ganges, Varanasi is one of the oldest cities on Earth, a city that, according to legend, was founded by the gods. Long known as a center of knowledge and learning, Varanasi was once home to an ancient physician by the name of Sushruta, who many historians credit with developing the art of surgery.
In ancient India, the early physician was a guy named Sushruta, and he was a surgeon and physician who would do skin grafts, cataract removals, even early plastic surgery on people. So once again, we have someone whose medical knowledge seems so advanced for his time.
Sushruta is also considered to be the first practitioner of Ayurveda, one of the oldest known systems of medicine in the world. According to Hindu legend, Sushruta is said to have received this knowledge from a god known as Dhanvantari.
Dhanvantari was a high-level god, as we would know them, who provided all the information on this complete healing modality based on an understanding of the physical and subtle aspects of the body. And it was passed through to Indian culture in ancient times and has been preserved and expanded since then.
Though he is most often depicted as having 4 arms and holding medicinal herbs, the god Dhanvantari was also a shapeshifter. According to legend, during his journeys to Earth, he could take on other forms, including that of a bird. Is it possible that both Dhanvantari and the half-man, half-bird Egyptian god of healing, Thoth, were connected in some way? And if so, how?
Whether it's Dhanvantari or Thoth, we learn of these extraterrestrial divinities very often being portrayed as bird-like beings who delivered the knowledge of ancient medicine to Earth. This tells us that our original knowledge of medicine, human anatomy, and how to heal the body came from extraterrestrial sources.
Sushruta was very clear in stating that he learned this knowledge from the gods. Who were the gods? Extraterrestrials.
Every culture will tell you that the first surgeon, that medicine, that healing was a gift of the gods. That is extraordinarily interesting because it really shows that the benefit of mankind was accomplished through the intervention and the knowledge of the deities.
San Agustin Archaeological Park in Colombia is located along the west bank of the Magdalena River, near a place where it converges with 2 other rivers. It is a location that ancient astronaut theorists believe has a startling and not accidental significance.
They could have set up this site anywhere, but why did they choose San Agustin in Colombia? In India, we have this place called Triveni Sangamam, where 3 great rivers meet, and that site is chosen as a sacred site. We have a lot of temples in this place. Whoever came from India to here chose this place because this is where all these 3 rivers meet. And to find a place like this, you needed to have aerial survey. They were using the Vimanas, which is why they set up this ancient Shiva temple here.
Vimanas, the extraterrestrial flying machines that are described in the Mahabharata, the ancient Hindu text? Is it possible that Hindu explorers made the journey from India to South America and then settled in this region centuries ago? And could they have made that journey a distance of some 12,000 miles by means of a Vimana? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and they believe that the answer to what compelled them to come there can be found by examining one of the ancient stone statues located in San Agustin Archaeological Park.
This was the final statue that I wanted you to look at. Pretty curious, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know what to call this except a spaceman. You can see that he's wearing some kind of a helmet. It looks like he has a visor. He's got 2 rectangular eyes and a rectangular mouth. He has no nose. He's holding this, what they call a power staff.
But what's really fascinating about that is he's holding that long cylinder. And if you look carefully, it's going even below his feet. He's using that cylinder to go into the ground. Now, this is very interesting because in Hindu culture, there's a god called Swarnakala Bhairava, and he's a god of gold. And he uses a tool called Kila, and he uses it to go into the ground and mine gold.
It could be a special probe that you can put in the ground and detect gold and minerals. So perhaps he is the extraterrestrial that is guiding them.
Oh my God.
He's a spaceman in a spacesuit.
Oh my God, you guys. Oh my God. So much, and especially with the last thing. So, how do I even go about dissecting this video for you? Okay, funny enough that I talked about Eric von Däniken from the very start. I read some of his books when I was 14, early teenage years. I was very interested in aliens. So I know in the comments you talked a lot about like laughing at the alien theory. And I wonder what you think about like if India had some extraterrestrial hope. In the comments, let me know. So Eric von Däniken has been then further during the years, a couple of, I think the last 2 decades. I don't know if he's been then, I felt like he started to maybe like be popular in kind of spiritual alien community. And, you know, I just had like, I have more interest in spirituality than anything alien, like Area 25 or 21, whatever in the US. I don't really follow that stuff. Nonetheless, I do believe that they exist. I just personally, that's not my subject of interest. So so he was, I think, then kind of like his things with theories were debunked. He was a bit discredited over the years. So I kind of like stopped paying attention to that. When, you know, I'm not shying away from saying that I'm spiritual. Obviously, everyone can define it as they like. For me, it's like I tend to absorb the knowledge, and I'm just trying to make sense of it in my head, observing, like, you know, speaking to people that see, hear things. I always come across people like that. And I've, over the last 20 years, I've gained a lot of knowledge in that area. And a couple of years ago, maybe just a year or two, I came across the channel I mentioned at the very start called Gigi Young, and she talks about, she's kind of not in favor of alien theory. She's talking about like that our civilizations were in fact that mature. But what is very, very, very interesting about this video is that I mentioned that Matthias De Stefano, who is calls himself a portal. He is a person who he claims that he remembers his past lives. He's done a couple of series on Gaia, on the origins of the universe, you know, like his experiences from Atlantis. And it's quite elaborate for someone to put this together without having any knowledge. Like, you'd have to see for yourself, like, you know, on the origins of the universe, or like on the Atlantis. And funnily enough, I don't know if you ever heard of concept of Galactic Federation of Light, which they have spaceships and spacecraft. There are lots of channelers, at least in the West, also on YouTube you could follow. They talk about Galactic Federation of Light, and you can look at it. So it wouldn't surprise me that, you know, that we would have the extraterrestrial interest. Now, what is very interesting, and the reason why I'm bringing up Matthias De Stefano, is that basically what they were talking about in this video is exactly what he remembers. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in this topic, sign up to Gaia and watch his series. He's basically, the fact is, when they were talking about that we are a hybrid between like other extraterrestrial beings, as what he also remembers. And the reason why I laughed so much, or I was so shocked in the beginning, because he talks about galactic history, you know, just think about our galactic history. And he talks about that there was a fight for our planet, and our planet was starting to, he talks about like the civilization that were part of our planet, and one of them was Anunnaki. And Anunnaki were perceived like exactly what I said, like the giant hybrids. They were actually, they were not positive entities, but they were very gigantic, and they came from their own planet that they destroyed, and they were extracting. So this is the fun part. This is why I'm so shocked how things, you know, maybe for you it doesn't make sense, whatever I'm saying, but to me it kind of all fits together. And then I'm just thinking that whatever Matthias is saying is actually true, is that they were extracting a precious metals. They were using humans to extract precious metals to save their planet. So we were their sails, and then they were interbreeding with the humans. So they were not positive entities, etc. I mean, wow, in my head right now, I'm so shocked how these things like come to me from so many different sources, and like actually fit together. It's unreal. Like, it just makes me believe that whatever Matthias is saying is likely truth. But I guess, you know, we all can have our theories. I wonder what you guys think about that. Like, have you actually ever came across Matthias de Stefano? What do you think of him? Like, what do you think about general kind of alien theory? Do you think that we are a species that is coming and that is like interbred from different kind of extraterrestrial beings? Let me know in the comments below. And I do hope with this you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Before that, please do take care. Sending much love. Bye bye.